basically paralyzing Russia's war machine. What is the most devastating way? Ukraine provided the answer. Oil, the lifeblood of Russian military operations, with precision drone strikes. Ukraine has been on shaky target, the Russian oil refinery, hitting Putin's most painful weakness. These attacks, the strikes not only cut off fuel supplies to the front line, it is also still dependent on the oil industry for support, inflict a heavy blow. Even though he has been sanctioned by the West, and the latest blow, this could be Ukraine's boldest attempt yet. January 11, 2025, Ukraine Tatandik Refinery launched a long-range drone strike. The refinery is the largest in Russia, one of the most modern facilities. The attack was carried out in Russia. It caused a real shock. It also shows that even in the Russian mainland, Putin's resources are no longer secure. Here we go. We will delve into the details of this attack. Ukraine, the broader impact of the Russian refinery attack, and this bold strategy, how it changed the entire war. Let's start with Fane, the incident at the oil refinery. OpenAI company, as the world's strongest artificial intelligence company, his product check. GPT has always been the best AI product to use. Although for some reason we cannot use it directly, this channel now checks GPT. Foro installation and usage services. We strive to reach more people. Use really good artificial intelligence. Let's move towards a smart future together. Thank you for your support of this channel. On January 11th, Ukraine implemented an impressive drone attack. The target is located below the Tatandik oil plant in Kamsk. It's 800 miles from the Russian border. The attack sent a clear message to Putin. Ukraine can not only destroy Russia's oil capacity, it can also launch more and more boldly in its domestic hinterland. What makes Tatandik so significant? Also because it is a very large, and considered as one of the most modern oil refineries at full production capacity. This oil refinery, the annual processing capacity of crude oil can reach 16 million tons. Finished products mainly based on petroleum machinery to other countries, or used for Russian military tanks and vehicles in Ukraine, provide fuel. Even under Western sanctions, this industry is still growing in Russia. In 2022, Russia's diesel industry grew by 6%. In 2023, it will still increase by 3.4%. Similarly, gasoline production will increase by 4.3% in 2022. Four-year growth of 2.8%. Although growth has slowed, can't deny, Russia's external exposure to sales are on the rise year by year. This also means that, if you lose a large oil cracking plant like Tatandik, it must be a serious blow to Russia. These could have been processed into various products. 16 million tons of crude oil. Processing is not possible, or it can only be exported at a low price. Itself decreases due to added relative decrease in income, or you can only deposit storage tanks that are already getting tighter until it can be shipped to other refineries. Either way, it will have a huge impact on Russia. In the related video after Tatandik preview, you can see the oil refinery in flames. Not surprisingly, Russia's propaganda machine. It was still operating days after the attack, located in the area where the refinery is located, belonging to Russia. Federation of Volga, the Dastan Republic Information Office in the museum district. It is claimed that there is no fire here. Contrary to what is depicted in the image, they say it's actually the cube doing what's called a evacuation drill. He also claims that the fire in the picture is not lighting that the workers themselves light. As part of routine evacuation procedures, even more puzzling is, they didn't explain why are there more than just bright firelights in images and the rising smoke. Is it an emergency drill for Dadastan? The content is so realistic. A real fire needs to be set in a factory filled with flammable materials. This is a conventional discharge from a flare burner. God knows, but anyway. Torch. Not every window in a building all emit orange fire. A more plausible theory is that Ukraine carried out a successful drone raid. Screen display. Parts of the refinery are literally burning motor oil, could cause millions of tons in Russia. Refined oil or refined crude oil goes to waste. The machine acts exploded. More relevant details are provided. Andrei, head of the Ukrainian Anti-Rumor Center, Kovalenko confirmed the attack. It also explains why Ukraine is doing this. This refinery is providing fuel for the Russian army. Play a key role. Kovalenko says, strike down on refineries and oil directly affect Russia. The ability to engage in high-intensity combat also reported this attack, resulting in the evacuation of a field employee. Apparently, that's why the drill rhetoric came up and spread to Nakomsk, Nigeria, Izhevsk. 4 airports, including Kirov and Ufa, were grounded. You must know that Russia will not close the airport easily unless they believe drone attacks have occurred or are occurring. And just one refinery evacuation drill, it cannot be the reason for the suspension of waste. That makes a lot of sense. In addition, the factory did catch fire in the image. The only conclusion of pampering logic is Ukraine hits Tatandik refinery. And Russia is lying about it. So why does this strike matter? Kovalenko has pointed out one of the reasons. Destroy Donetsk. Let Russia. Key finished fuels such as diesel and gasoline. Difficult to send to the front line. High probability. Most of these products are shipped to the Donetsk region. In 2024, the Russian army spent a lot of effort. Want to take more territory there. Although Russia has partially achieved its goal, it's about 1,544 square miles. But the price to pay is huge. The Russian army will lose about 430,000 troops in 2024. After the attack on Donetsk, the Russian army is in Dayton. Pressure in the Donetsk region was relatively relieved. They have difficulty getting enough fuel, causing some otherwise available tactics of grams and armored to be forced to operate as infantry. Russian soldiers are more susceptible to injury and death in front of an Ukrainian line of defense. Further increase Russia's casualty rate. In other words, only one major oil refinery was destroyed. Reduce the offensive pressure on Ukraine and the battlefield and expand the suffering of the Russian army on fringe issues. And for Russia, but it doesn't stop there. The Titanic drone strike. This is by no means the first time Ukraine has attacked Russia. It's not even the first time I've had my eye on Titanic. This refinery has been bombed before. April 2, 2024. Reuters reported, Ukrainian drone breaches Tanyak defenses. Directly hit the oil hunting plant. The scale of the attack at that less time, than the January 2025 attacks. Drones only seem to disrupt day processing. A device 155,000 barrels of Ukraine was not able to cause complete destruction at the time. The Russian side will soon resume the operation of the device. But this still shows that Donetsk has long been on the hit list by no party. If we could have completely destroyed the processing plant, you can put this. A refinery that handles 16 million tons of crude oil and 7.9 million tons. Ability. The attack ignited the CDU device and caused small fires. Russian state media RIA claims that the fire was extinguished within 20 minutes. The device also quickly resumed operation. But it's not hard to imagine. If Ukraine sends a larger drone swarm, attack multiple major devices simultaneously, will make Russia's oil transition more difficult. Ukraine also used drones attacks on other Russian refineries around Duantin. A month after NATO's first attack, Ukraine targets turned to an oil plant in the Bashan-Kiria region. To be honest, that attack than both of Tanakh's actions. A drone flew about 932 miles, created the Ukrainian drone strike Russian mirror at the time. Longest distance record, hit a house by Russia, a plant controlled by Gazprom. The Ukrainian side claims that this is the most remote plan against Russia to date. Time. It is also Russia's largest oil refinery petrochemical production live video. Drone hits catalytic cracking unit. And that's what happens in the refining process. The macromolecular hydrocarbons in crude oil, the key to breaking down into smaller molecules, can produce a variety of finished petroleum products. Smoke visible in multiple videos. Although at that time, the attack did not destroy the oil stored at the site, but it destroyed critical processing equipment. Further reduce Russia's fuel supply on the front lines. The goal is the same as before. Forcing Russia. The army cannot provide enough fuel for the armored troops. To ease the pressure on the Ukrainian defenders, let's look at the situation in April 2024. Ukraine plotted to hit Tanakh. Also used drones. Attack the Krasnodar Krai Slavianskoye oil plant. This attack may be called Ukraine, the most successful one due to the shutdown of some operations of the factory. Head of State Security Edward Trudnev admitted the attack to Russian official Tasher. Slaviansk away from home was forced to partially shut down. Exactly. There are 10 drones directly into the factory. Caused a violent fire. Russia admits to the fire so simply. To some extent, it explains this strike greater impact than Russia claims. And according to local officials in Krasnodar wrote in a telegram, although the exposed oil storage tank farm is not centralized, a distillation tower was damaged. The function of this tower is to separate crude oil into its different processed into all sorts of oil products. This shows that the approach taken by Ukraine, once again, it is an important node to destroy the Goose refinery. To reduce the ability of the uprising to deliver fuel to the front. Now we've seen the Ukrainian model. Use drone raids. Usually, the most critical part of the Russian refinery has been selected. Although Russia has tried its best to downplay but after Ukraine succeeded, there's less pressure on the front. Then Russia's trick on Ukraine. What did you do? May 2024. Radio Free Europe revealed some Russian countermeasures. Putin is in Pakistan. After the natural gas refinery was attacked, figure out the plan. Russian energy is not already in non-vulnerable refineries, deploying or planning to deploy a missile defense system. Many state-run or parastatal refineries also take measures. For example, laying metal mesh on top of key equipment to protect against drones. But it's a cheap way because the amount cannot be stocked from the military. Remove enough air defense systems. Another trick. It's a refinery self-organizing mobile air defense group. The essence is a small team. Men shooting machine guns at drones flying in the sky. Limited effect on flexible and efficient drones. January 2025 Ukraine in Sitniko. It is enough to prove that the Russian protection plan is not focusing on Ukraine's strategy against Russian refineries. There are two more questions worth exploring. Why is Ukraine investing heavily in drones? Throw these blows and focus on the goose oil industry. Will there be any negative effects? The first question we covered in part. Every hit to the goose refinery. It will reduce its processing capacity and then weaken the Russian frontline fuel supply, reduce pressure on Ukrainian defenders, but that's just one of them. The Carnegie Foundation points out that oil remains the backbone of the Russian economy, allowing Putin to keep his war machine running. So every blow to the refinery, not only did it hit Russia's predecessor, also Ukraine, a symbolic victory over the enemy. Show the outside world he can come from far away from the battle line. Destroy Russia's most valuable resource. Why did Ukraine choose an oil refinery rather than the vast Siberian oil fields? Carnegie believed that the latter was mainly because it was too scattered, difficulty in targeting key targets, and even oil plants cost tens of billions of dollars to build, and essential. Transforming crude oil into a variety of usable products. If the refinery is destroyed, even if Russia has a large amount of crude oil, it is not easy to earn higher profits. At the moment, Russia also doesn't have the money to invest heavily in construction. Ukraine is equivalent to forcing Russia to face financial constraints. It costs money to fix it. Furthermore, by attacking oil refineries, it also allows ordinary Russians feeling daily stress. It's not just the military that's using these products. Ordinary car. Airplanes also need fuel. Once the supply of domestic self-use decreases, prices will go up. For example, between November 26th and December 2nd, 2024, the price of Zhou Xian Guaning's original products rose by 0.4%. In Putin's so-called special military operations, oil prices have risen repeatedly during this period, and the refinery bombing will only make the market more nervous. Higher price, considering that the cost of living in China has continued to rise. Base rate of 21%. Inflation will be 9.5% by the end of 2024. Every decrease in fuel supply, it's tantamount to further pricking the wallets of the Russian people. Ukraine obviously wants ordinary people, due to the rising cost of living, to force an end to the war, avoid further decline in living standards. You can also say, these attacks implemented Western sanctions against Russia, but Russia relies on China. India and other non-Western regions sell oil. To some extent, it offsets the pressure of sanctions. But the Ukrainian side claims, strike through these refineries. As of May 2024, the blow is Russian oil production. Average daily reduction 900,000. Play a complementary role with Western materials. Russia's original storage capacity was limited, and if the oil is not stored properly, difficult to reprocess into gasoline. Diesel is therefore. Didn't hit a single refinery? It makes the crude oil at the plant more likely to lose value. Russia will either let the crude oil remain in the rubble, risk deterioration, or sell quickly. But it cannot be refined into high negative value refined oil. Although Russia can send other warehouses to fill it, but that takes time and money. Anyway, this righteousness and Ukraine's intentions, slowing down the Russian advance on the front lines, make life more difficult for people in Russia. Of course, Ukraine is also facing some challenges at the moment. When the video came out, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is about to take office. Ukraine may want to seize the moment, hit more countries' hunting grounds, to gain more leverage in future negotiations. Trump has threatened to promote peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. But the timeline has changed from the day of the White House. Change to power within a few months. Ukraine may want to negotiate, maximize the blow to the Russian economy first. It's like having an advantage at the negotiating table. In addition, Trump may pressure Ukraine, ask them to stop such attacks on Russia, especially in the Biden administration, allowing Ukraine to use UC-made missiles against Russia based on goals, against a backdrop that has caused Trump great concern. Although the Ukrainian side has carried out operations, it has nothing to do with American weapons, but lost the support of America's largest military partner. Still not good. It might slow Ukraine down. To appease Trump, another risk is that Russia could retaliate against Ukraine's domestic refineries. Russia has ruled against Ukraine's Kryvyi free of charge. The factory launched an attack September 2023 and February 2024. This is the only large refinery left in Ukraine. It is not ruled out. Russia attacks Ukraine's power infrastructure many times in history so as to cause harm to the Ukrainian people in Russia. Similar energy sources. The pain is therefore the Ukrainian refinery crackdown. It's not just about mourning. So will these factors deter Ukraine? January 2025. The Ethel on Tenneco proves that the Ukrainian side is still determined. In the coming weeks, after Trump was officially inaugurated, Ukraine may go further. More attacks on Russian refining facilities to achieve maximum damage. How do you feel about Ukraine? Strike against the Tenneco refinery and the overall strategy for cracking down on the Russian oil industry. Has this strategy worked as Ukraine wishes? With Trump about to take office, will Ukraine face pressure to slow down its actions? Please leave your comments in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I am the narrow gate. See you next time.